Welcome to another edition of the program Pod of View. Here we discuss different perspectives over issues of national concern that are trending in the news. Joining me today, I have on my right, Shuge, and Shuge, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on the program.
And also I have Anayo.
Thank you, Idris. Thank you, Sugar, for
All right.
Well, end of an era, as some would say. Tinubu ends emergency rule in River State. Finally, 6 months have elapsed. And also would be discussing on Dangote accusing that man and NUPENG over, plans to increase the gantry price of fuel. Well, let me start quickly first from Shuge. Uh, 6 months over. Some people are already calling for audit of what really happened. That was a 6 month that couldn't wait for the governor of the state to return before conducting local government elections.
Yeah.
What would you make? What lessons are there, takeaways from the 6 months of IBAS?
Well, there's no lesson to be learned from that. I think it's just it's something that happened and is going to go down in the history books as the first democratically elected governor that was suspended by the president for 6 months. 6 months is not long enough to call it an era anyway. So but I think when you look at what's happening in River State, an audit is very, very necessary. A probe is very, very important. Looking at all that's happened, just as you highlighted, an election was carried out that could have waited 2 weeks, 3 weeks for the elected governor to come back and host. That's not the case that we saw. We also saw a case where the sole administrator sent a budget of ₦1 trillion and it was expeditiously approved. I think I should add that also. So there are all these indicators that there are things to uncover there, and so 100% the probe is necessary and should be looked into everything that played out in the 6 months. But we are we going to see a probe? I think that's the main question that should be asked, and the answer to that is most likely going to be no. Just going from our track record in the country and how probes have gone so far.
Are we going to see? Yeah, definitely you're going to see, but maybe the outcome of the
But
probe is-
exactly, we may not see anything come out
Yes, out of it, yeah.
of the probe and the audit. I think that's the major take. But yeah, it's very interesting. I said Doctor Governor rather Siminalayi Fubara was not. He did not resume yesterday as was expected. There was a whole crowd in front of the State House in Port Harcourt waiting for him. He didn't show up for whatever reasons that may be. We don't know yet. But if you're just reading off of the body language and the implications of him not showing up, it goes to show you a couple of things. One, he may not be too excited about coming back.
Why would you not be too excited about returning back to assume your office as a
Well,
governor of the state?
Well, personally, I would be, but Fubara is a different person. I don't know. I think if you look at it, it might just be because of how things happened. That may just be it. Governor Sim right now, I wouldn't want to be him. He's going through a lot. He has gone through a lot. The way the suspension was carried out, the things leading up to the suspension, how the State Assembly, how the relationship between him and the State Assembly went for months leading up to the suspension. He has gone through a lot. So, I mean, if...
You sound like you're sympathizing with him.
Well, I am. 100% I am sympathizing with him because it's tough. This is somebody who ran for office, got the office, and you think you're just going to have a smooth ride
Supporters
through the 4
are
years.
felicitating with him, not sympathizing with him.
Well, we're going to see how things play out in the coming months, right? Then we know who was right to either sympathize, facilitate, or felicitate. I don't know your thoughts on that.
Well, normalcy is said to have returned to River State, but the governor hasn't returned yet.
normalcy. There's a term.
That's relative, though.
Yeah, there's a term.
Normalcy is relative. What
Normalcy-
you may determine normal is different from what them in River State may determine normal.
Well, the media reports normal, so I'm just wondering
Okay.
if normalcy has returned. Is it?
Normalcy, peace, could also be peace of the graveyard. What happened in River State? Because, see, if we think that what happened in River State was greatly appreciated by a larger number of Nigerians, then we've got another thing coming. Because from a democratic point of view, what happened in River State was an aberration. I see what happened in River State as a normal Nigerian story. A democratically elected governor is kicked out. Nigerians went on shouting, and then suddenly the beat goes down. The man is allowed to stew in his own, to go wade through the problem. Now he's back, and the story continues. Normal thing. So it was not democratic, yes, because if you have to appoint an administrator, there's nothing democratic with declaration of emergency, even though the president said he had a reason for doing that, and he has explained to anyone that cared to listen that this is why I did it. And I did it for a purpose to save Rivers State, to ensure that there's peace and tranquility. Now it's over. You can see, you're talking about normalcy. You can see the reluctance on the part of the governor to return to office. Excited. We expected Fubara to come with pomp and celebration. But the reports say he's reluctant. Even the Minister of FCT, who's from that state, has said, look, he will come back. Trying to make it look like, yes, he wants to come back. So now, why the reluctance? Because it is clear that Fubara didn't like what happened, and most people in Rivers State didn't like what happened, and but have to accept it because it was a presidential order, the 6 months of Ibas, and I tell you, Ibas stay in 6 months in Rivers State has been recorded by history, because some people tell you that even his own kinsman was the Rivers State Electoral Commission chairman.
Exactly.
That was conducted the local government elections. Now, with the request from the House of Assembly asking him to come up with a list of commissioners, and with the Minister of FCT saying, look, I'm not going to be part of those he selects, I'm not interested in those because in as commissioners, you can see the young man's reluctance to return to office. I see returning as one that has lost a battle. Is he coming to the brick house with his tail between his legs? How would you see a Fubara? How is he going to operate? In fact, the way it looks like now, it looks like the Speaker of the House of Representatives, House of Assembly in Rivers State, looks pretty much stronger to me now than the governor.
But that was the initial plan.
Well, it has happened. That's why I said there's no normalcy. It has happened. So Fubara...
So there's no normalcy. At least there's no fights, no pipeline.
On the surface, but in the mind, there's a war going on in Rivers State.
Who exactly are we going to say is the leader of the People's Democratic Party in that state? Who owns the structure? Who presides over?
I mean, according to Wike, is not the governor.
The who is?
I think that's the question that remains to be answered. Because typically, it should be the governor because he's the highest ranking member of the party in the state. So ideally, it should be him. But, from the Minister of the FCT statement.
So if you don't have control of the State House of Assembly, you don't preside over the PDP chapter in your state. What exactly do you have as a governor?
And so that's the point that Anaya is trying to make. He's a figurehead at this point.
It will come to a point where maybe Fubara will have to come to Abuja every week to show his notes.
Oh, he's not a sole administrator. He's an elected governor. Yes. Unless if you're questioning that.
He may not be able to operate very independently.
Yes.
Even though the minister, and why we keep mentioning the Minister of the FCT, because he's the power broker in that state. He's a Minister of FCT for yes, but he's also an indigenous of Rivers State and a stakeholder in the state and a power broker.
Yeah.
I mean, his power showed in what happened in 6 months. He showed that, well, he's I do not begrudge his relevance in that state. So, but that's why we keep mentioning him.
Yes.
So we'll see a situation where maybe Fubara will have to come and take notes every weekend on what to do the week after in Abuja. And that's not very palatable. So,
what's the likelihood of a second term for Fubara? Because Wike said that that's not something that they're considering at the moment. They just
when he's here
focus on governance.
When he's here to resume after 6 months, if talking about a second term will be like whistling, blinking in the winking in the dark. Yeah, that's what it looks to me. Because as far as I'm concerned, Fubara's political door, for now, has been shut not by himself, but those he faced in that fight.
By the powers that be.
By the powers that be. So maybe, and the structure, remember, he came on a structure, and that structure seemed to have been withdrawn. So he's acting alone. He has to build his own political structure and pray that sympathy from the people of Rivers State, who may consider him as someone who has been illegitimately treated, can help him. Yeah. I liken his case to that of Meki Hedoha in Imo State, who clearly was robbed of his mandate and made to leave the government house unceremoniously. Now, are the people going to come back and say, look, for this treatment, we want you back? That question will be answered in 2027 for both gentlemen.
Yes.
So there's a similarity between those cases.
All right, I think we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and see what happens with regards to what's going on in River State. There are already people at the airport waiting to see His Excellency, the Executive Governor of River State. I hope their hopes wouldn't be dashed just like yesterday. Well, quickly going to the other issue, Nigerians are excited about the availability of fuel, and that now with the coming of Dangote into the field, the price of PMS has been dropping. And then all of a sudden, there's a fallout between them and NUPENG. Now we have a dark man in the scene, and they are planning to put an additional 75 naira per liter on diesel and also on PMS. Well, what Dangote is saying is he's not going to go that route. He's not going to add that gantry price. You know, he's sticking to where he's staying, 800, I think. But if you're going to add the additional money, he's going to take it to 900 plus. He's not going that route. But going by reports and allegations on the side, he's saying that they're also demanding for about 1.5 trillion naira subsidy in that particular sector. How do you see these union bodies? Some would say they're there to protect the interest, of groups and employees within that sector. But right now, they're starting to look like they're constituting a cog in a wheel.
I think they are the problem of this entire country, if you ask me. Because what they're doing, right, and we spoke about this morning, and this morning I made a comment that I don't want to make. I don't want to make on the podcast. But this is wickedness. There's no other way you can look at this, right? You're having a group of individuals who are choosing to make the entire nation suffer just for their own benefit. And I think that's the wrong way to approach this. This is an individual, and I'm speaking of Dangote now, who could have done literally anything else but build this refinery. This man could have bought Arsenal right now, and he'll be hanging out with Thierry Henry in Paris, and they'll be drinking tea or doing whatever it is that billionaires do, right? He could have done anything but this, but he chose to come to invest in the country, spent $20 billion of his money and investment from stakeholders, of course, to build this refinery. And since this man started building this refinery, he himself even came out to say he has developed gray hair since he decided to take on this project. Yeah,
well,
do you understand? So and now we've seen the price of fuel come down. Has it gone down to what it was before? Absolutely not. But we've seen it decline, at least even slightly. And now you're having individuals who simply because of the progress he's making, their profit margin is being cut into. They're saying add 75 naira to the price. And then he's saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And they're saying, okay, fine. How about you add 75 naira and let the federal government subsidize it? That's an annual subsidy of 1.7 or so trillion naira. Something that clearly was the issue we were having, was what got us into this mess in the first place. And then they're demanding that be put back, in the first place again. And I support Dangote strongly for saying that he's not going to go ahead and do it. He's not going to, add anything, that they should go ahead and take forward directly from his gantry. But they keep fighting him at every junction. You have to understand that this is the richest person in Africa we're talking about here. This man is friends with Bill. Bill Gates came to his daughter's wedding some years ago. He's friends with a lot of other billionaires. Are we even thinking about the long game here? Let's say this does very well. We're looking at foreign investment from a lot of people who could come into the country looking at all that's happening. But if they're stopping him as an individual from things, they're completely discouraging even the thought of other persons bringing investments into the country. And I think this sector is one that, honestly, is really annoying and painful talking about, because I don't even know. I don't want to say what's coming to my mind.
Should explain. You remember in the Bible, after the death of Jesus Christ, two individuals were going on Jerusalem Road, and when one of them spoke like he didn't know that Christ was crucified, his colleague asked him, "Are you any person in Jerusalem that does not know that Son of Man has been crucified, buried, and has risen?" Is Dangote new in Nigeria? That's the question. Yes, no, I have to be straight here. He's not new in business. He's a Nigerian. Why are we listening to all of this? Because Dangote is beginning to test the nitty-gritty of Nigerian business, doing business in Nigeria. All along.
You're selling pasta.
Yeah, all along he was out there.
Yes.
He may have heard about the mafia in the oil sector.
Yeah, but he never encountered them.
And some people also sit back and tell you point blank that Dangote is not too far away from those who are in the mafia business, right? In business right now. Because questions have been asked. What happened to Benue Cement? What happened to Ibeto Cement? What happened to Ibeto Rice? What happened to those other individuals who were importing these items to the country before now?
Yes.
Allegedly, people will tell you, it was Dangote that ran them out of business. Yes.
That's
I
not
mean,
apparent.
I'm telling you what they could,
What people feel.
people
Okay.
feel
Yeah.
that way. It
Yeah.
could also be that
Yeah.
maybe he didn't have a hand in all of that. But people will tell you, Dangote was the one that made the BCC cement, not Boko, and all of that. That's, by the way, that's a long time. Now we're in a new era.
So I say maybe he was the mafia then in that other sector.
I don't know.
That kicked some other people out of
We're
business?
putting out what people
Okay.
say.
All right.
Now he's crying. He's genuinely telling you that he's facing a backlash from. Now, who are members of the DAPMAN? They are not you and I. These are big-time businessmen.
Yes.
Some of who, if given the chance, may even invest in Dangote business.
Yes.
Dangote is open to investment, right? Who are these big individuals that Dangote sees and cries out? They must be big. Dangote is the Africa's richest man. But who are the people he's encountering? Leave NUPENG out of it. This is a group of workers. That man, who are they? Can Dangote sit back and reel out the names of those he thinks are beginning to stop him from doing what is good for Nigeria? It's a good thing.
This is
he
about
wants to
business
do.
interest.
Business
He
interest.
might know them. They might be friends, but it's about
Yes.
business interest.
So
He's encroaching into their profit margin, and they can't
Good.
take that. But do you know, I really have a case to support for that, man, because it looks like if you don't have those people, well, Nigerians wouldn't like that. But the problem is monopoly. If you don't have the likes of Darkman existing, with this level of competition, Dangote would take over virtually everything.
That's right.
Why? Because of the economy of scale. He has the advantage of the economy of scale.
Okay.
Other people are feeding off corruption or other subsidy, but he has the advantage of real money, and he's large enough because he owns a corporation. And when you have that large, humongous sum of money, you can absorb risk. They don't have the risk appetite. So all of those people who have been feeding off the status quo now have a problem. They're kicking back.
Yes.
But that's corruption, though. Allegedly, let's put it that, since he said that they've not really agreed that they demanded for the 1.5 trillion. But imagine if Dangote supplies directly to the filling stations and all that. He does everything, which means he takes over the distribution link.
Yes.
Then what else is left? What else is left? Who else is left in the sector?
But are Nigerians going to have affordable fuel?
They will.
Well, that's what it looks from.
But
the
one man
outside.
will
It
be in
looks like.
control.
Yeah, that's which
He
is
will set the
correct.
price.
Is that a better problem to have or a worse problem to have?
No,
than
it's
what
better
we're having
problem
right
to
now?
have.
Exactly. So it's a better problem to have. So
better
let's
problem
have
to
that problem.
I've told,
There's no problem after all. If it's a better problem, then
It's a
it's
better
no
problem. So let's have that problem.
we know Dangote wants to be kind to Nigeria.
Who wants a monopoly? I don't
And
think
yes,
anybody
it's
wants.
not good. And
Nobody
and I
wants
know
a
that-
monopoly in that sector, and it could potentially become a problem
Yes.
when
Yeah,
there's a monopoly,
that's
right?
right.
Yeah.
But right now, fuel went from what, about 200 naira per liter or what have you, to
1,200.
1,200
Yeah.
naira per liter, and then somebody came and they're slowly bringing the prices down, and now you're fighting that person. You're a Nigerian first before
Yeah,
you're
you're
a
looking
Because
at
there are
quick,
other
quick,
critical
quick
players in the
fixes,
sector.
but you have also noted that there could be a risk. Because by the
Yes,
way,
there could be a risk, but let's solve that risk when we get there. Let's solve that problem when we get there. And that might sound naive. I don't know, but I think no, honestly. But I think we should address the current issue now. Let's crash the prices of fuel, and then we can work on the rest
Morally
of it
speaking,
later.
you're correct.
Thank you.
Business-wise, it's risky. It's a monopoly, and nobody wants a monopoly in a free market. Because at the end of the day, we don't have a
aside
free
from
market
the
again.
petroleum
She will set the
sector,
price.
you should also consider crashing the sizes of the price of food items that are in the market, because virtually each family in Nigeria spends not less than 1,000 naira on our Dangote products every day. I
Is
don't know
that
about
his, is that
billions
his
of
fault? He's just a smart businessman. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Well, that is what it is. So those who are also kicking against his potential monopolistic attitude also have businesses to take care of.
Yeah, true. Their business interests. So it's conflict
So
of
it's
interest.
about conflict of- and why is the government keeping mute?
Well, they
Could
they,
it be that the
they came
government
with
sees-
DSS. I don't know. They were not mute. The minister was there with DSS. So
Could it be
During
that
the
the
last-
government
during
is
the last
seeing what
discussion.
we're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Yeah,
seeing?
but the agreements didn't hold.
well, they had
I
an
mean, it
agreement,
didn't
but they
take.
breached.
It stayed for 2 days and then it
That's
didn't.
because
if it was
Dan
easy,
Tata's son
the
came in
government would have
between, and
waded
he
in
took
and
us-
said, "Look, let's have this," but let's
Yeah, it's a
wait
free
for
market
the-
system.
I
So
really
they
do
are-
hope Dangote can hold his ground and not add the 75 naira price that they're asking for,
I
or
don't
even
think he
add
will.
any price at
I
all.
don't think he will.
Yeah, but for how long can he hold that ground? I think that's the question we should also ask, because you have to
how long?
understand
He
this is
will.
a whole
For
body
long.
coming for him.
Yeah, because I think there's a court order. I read that in the papers a
Yes.
couple of days back that now unions such as NUPENG don't have the right to go block roads and stop distribution of this fuel.
yeah.
Normally in the past, that's what they do. Labor unions come to the roads and they block
And they yes.
all this transportation.
And this is a private company also.
It's a
So it's a
private
private
company, so-
organization.
Well, let's
so-
hope the court order works at this level.
Talking about yes. Talking about what it's happening in the country. One very trending issue is a story where we saw bankers flying off, windows from their, establishments, and also
When?
members of. During the week, it happened during the week.
Really?
Chubby persons, taking off their ties
And
flying off
diving from the window.
and diving out from the window for their lives because they were getting asphyxiated, and there was slow response going by the reports we have for the papers, and that there were no persons who were available at that time to save them, so they had to save themselves, fly out the windows. There's been reactions about that, whether we should put the blame on the federal fire service, in the country, or should it be a blame that should be put on those who design such organizations? We know that when you do construction for buildings, you should have an exit, for emergencies such as that. You should have fire extinguishers. So a bank does have a fire extinguisher, FRS, with some of the. I don't know. You must have read that story.
Yeah, yes, I did. But Anna, you want to take this
No,
one?
I read something immediately after that incident.
Yeah.
The Lagos fire, and now we're hearing that the Federal Fire Service now wants to conduct a nationwide inquisition, if you like. They want to look at the buildings and see which one complies with the regulations. So to me, I see that another easy way for Federal Fire Service that has remained moribund
Yes.
over the decades, that has really not found time to change the acts that establishes it. I hear the money they pay for quenching fire is less than 15 naira. I don't know whether that law, that prehistoric law has been changed.
Prehistoric.
Yes. Now, it's an opportunity for the service to now say, okay, let's go around. Before now, what were they doing?
Yeah.
We'll see them attend, they now form part of the Joint Task Force when there are patrols all over the country. And all
Yes.
that. So now it is time for them to. The Lagos fire has prompted them to now go think out the idea of going nationwide,
Yes.
take a look at buildings.
Yes.
What kind of project would that be? How will it help? It's just to sit back and see how we can take another look at the law,
Yes.
establishing the federal service.
Yes.
And I've been in national service for some time. I don't think there's been any deliberate attempt to review the law establishing the service. Some of the workers in that service are the least paid. Yes, you can ask.
So public safety has never really been.
So
a thing
it
of concern.
affects the performance. I mean, in Lagos where you find out there wasn't a fire quenching truck in an era where people are using drones to quench fire.
But Nigerians have always been providing the services. You mix sand and omo and detergent. And it has
Crude
been,
way of quenching fire. And
When I was
that's not right.
when I was much younger, I think I was in university. I went to stay with a friend in Lagos, at Victoria Island on Kofoa Bayami Street, and I remember we were sleeping in the night and we started hearing people making noise, and I woke my friend up. I said, "Oh, what's happening?" And we looked outside the window and there was a huge fire that engulfed the top floor of the building directly opposite us. And everybody started scrambling, who has fire extinguisher, in their house. And so my friend said, "Oh no, he has the phone number of the fire service that's at Victoria Island, so let him call them." And he called them and they said, "Okay, they'll be there in 2 hours." And we said, "No, like, you don't understand.
That's response time.
The building is on fire now, like not 2 hours." And they said, "Wait, they have to get water." Right? So I think that experiencing that just gave me a perception of the fire service in Nigeria. And I think this is the same perception that a lot of Nigerians have, that they're not dependable. Which speaks to what you're saying about reviewing some of the laws that brought these institutions into place. If you can't depend on these institutions, a number of people, when they see a fire, the first thing that comes to their mind is not calling the fire service, is getting water in a bucket and mixing omo inside, right? Or getting a wet rag and doing like this on the thing. So it
doesn't find oxygen too.
Exactly.
They need upgrading.
Exactly.
Because even when
They
you
need
see some of the
upgrading.
officers,
Yes.
you want to differentiate between their uniform and that of an ordinary mechanic,
Yes.
auto mechanic.
I
Because they should be enhanced. We hardly see firefighters.
Yes.
Firefighters
United
abroad, you
States,
see them?
Yes, after the Marines.
They're very well equipped. They're very well
equipped in the
trained.
United States. But here, you hardly see people. Even when they call for recruitment, people are going to join them because if you're not
Our kids want to do all these career days in school. They want to dress like firefighters based on what they see on
but no
TV.
one wants
I'm
to
not
dress
sure
like
they're
firefighters
dressing
now.
up like
And
firefighters.
most of
in
the
Nigeria.
trucks are there for decoration, especially when you go to the offices. You see the truck washed, looking good, no water,
Yes.
no driver, possibly no fuel for the truck to move.
It's really unfortunate what we're seeing, because we're seeing more and more instances of fire outbreaks and things like that, and also just education. Also, I think one of the responsibilities of the fire service should not just be coming to put out fires, but educating people
Education
on how to
to-
handle,
Exactly.
fire outbreaks. Not
Because I know
and
they
this is
go
even
around-
before.
And not only to sell extinguishers.
Yeah,
Because
and
you
I
see them hawking extinguishers.
That's a revenue generation for them. They'll remit it to federal government.
Yeah, and I think
Consolidation revenue
before you
fund.
even start the conversation of building buildings with fire exits and escapes and all of that, I think the knowledge of the fire safety first of all
First, in
is the
schools.
most
It should be
important
part
thing.
of the school curriculum.
Ensuring that
They
buildings
do
have
once
fire
in a while.
extinguishers there
I think
once.
I used to
In
be a
primary
teacher.
schools?
Yes, they come around. There's this small ball. It looks very like a toy, but actually it's a fire extinguisher. There's a way they hit that.
But that's more recent. That's a more recent.
Yeah, that's more recent
In
thing.
fact, we have
more
even
recent
seen when
one.
some of those
But do you know why they do
institutions
that?
fail.
Because sometimes you pay money. It's another revenue for them. So you just settle
But
them.
then these are
If the
things that
builder
should
plan
be done
doesn't-
because it's education. You're informing people. These are things that should be
Pay
done for
money.
free.
It should
I shouldn't have to
be
pay money to come
free.
and
You
teach
pay
me on
money
how
to be taught how
to save my life.
fight fire.
Back in the days, we used to have all these clubs
because,
in school. You could have a firefighter club or
because
something.
they don't really look well equipped to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really, even in the offices, there's one here in opposite the old parade ground.
Yes.
Looks,
That's their headquarters now.
yes, it looks ill-equipped as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but I see like the senior staff driving around with escorts and things like that.
Yeah, but that's where it stops. The junior staffs look
Oh, no.
are not happy about it, and I'm sure
Yeah.
if they are watching us now, they will be saying yes. Kudos to you guys for
That's
mentioning-
junior staff, just
they're
like people-
ill-equipped.
Like ADC and all that. The junior staff will always like
Yeah,
that kind of
ill-equipped
conversation.
and not much to do.
Yeah.
I mean, a firefighter should be able to do more than firefighting, get involved in rescues, even in accident scenes and all that. So
Yes.
all
It's
have
quite
to-
unfortunate what we're seeing in that sector.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. I know. Call to action. Do you have any words?
Well, I think the
government.
first call to action should be education. I think we can start from there. I think fire education, right, on safety. I think the fire service should really, really do that. Go in, educate people, not just students in schools, but also offices, organizations, entire ministries, educate people on how to handle, how to tackle fire before, first responders get there. Because clearly, as we've seen, it takes
They're
them
last
time
responders, so.
to, they don't get there first. And then the response time is very, very slow in Nigeria. So at least just educate people on, okay, if there's a fire outbreak here, the first thing you should do is find the nearest exit or get the fire extinguisher or, get everybody to safety or cover your nose or what have you. I think those are very, very important things. And I think that's a very, very pressing CTA right now.
And God
My
rest his soul,
call
some
to
people
action,
disappointed,
Idris,
yes.
is take another look at the act establishing the fire service.
Yes.
Very deep look. Look at how you can alter it, make the job good enough. Take a look at their salaries,
Yes.
their training, whatever it is. Bring them back to life. Right now, they are not there.
I don't see them.
Nobody sees them.
I see their
Or-
officers,
you see
right,
their
with the
convoys,
escorts.
right?
I see their convoys.
Or maybe they're dressed in mufti.
Maybe
No,
they
they're
disguise.
not there.
Okay.
They're not felt.
Maybe they
like
disguise sometimes.
intelligence officers. They're just
Yeah.
spying on
I
people.
have one who's a very close pal. He hardly talks. He's not a very happy guy.
Is it a
He's
welfare
a,
wife?
he's a senior officer in the fire. The
Yeah.
fire.
It's
But he's
fe-
not happy.
it's a
And I'm
federal
not gonna-
service
Let-
job,
let's,
is a federal civil service
I don't want
job,
to go
so-
further.
So it's
What,
not-
what if he's watching you now and he's saying, this guy,
No,
why
but
is
he'll be happy. I'm saying it out there that
Yes.
he's not happy.
It could be a personal problem, though. It might not really-
Remuneration,
Yes.
equipment,
Yes.
training, psyche. Not good enough.
All right.
All right. Okay. On this note, we'll have to. We believe our listeners and our viewers there are listening to this call to actions, and the authorities concerned also following must have picked up one or two words from Shuge and Anayo. I've been your host on today's edition of the program Pod of View. Make sure you follow our social media handles: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all meta platforms. Trust me, that's where you get the best of content when it comes to all things, whether politics or trending issues. Do have a lovely day ahead of you. Make sure tune into Democracy Radio 104.9 FM Abuja.